Hi guys, Richard Miller here from Miller Type Foundry. Today I'm going to talk about the difference between italic fonts versus slanted fonts and why it's so important to use a font that has true italic fonts in it. So we'll get started. First I'll demonstrate what slanted fonts are. So basically if you have a font, this here is a font design called Intervogue. And if you have a font and you don't have real italics, you can make fake italics basically by going to Object, Transform, Shear, and this basically is just taking in Illustrator, it's just taking each character and just slanting it by a shear angle of 12 degrees. And basically, you know, from a distance you may say, okay, hey, that seems pretty good. That seems like that would work for an italic. But if we look a little bit closer, we can see the problems of doing it this way. So if you see the capital O, you see how in the regular version, the stroke weight pretty much stays the same almost the whole time. But here in the slanted version, it's really, really thick over here and it's really, really thin over here. So it becomes distorted and it makes it look really ugly and it's distracting. Same with the G, where the stroke's really thin over here, but it's really thick over here. Basically, any curved line is going to do that. You know, parts of it are going to become thick, parts are going to become thin, and it's going to mess it up. But then also, any diagonal stroke is going to get messed up. So here on the capital A, these two diagonal strokes, they mirror each other, and the stroke weight looks pretty similar. But in the slanted version, you can see that this one is significantly thicker than here on the left side. So there again, it makes it look ugly and it just doesn't, messes up the rhythm and the flow of the letters. Same with the Y, you can see how much thinner this right side is than the left side here. And especially on the S, you can see how this part here became really thin, but the end and the middle of it became way too thick, compared to, like I said, the regular version where the stroke weight remains almost the same throughout the whole letter. So that makes that look really ugly. So any good designer is going to design an italic font to go with the regular that's going to fix all these errors. So I designed an italic for Intervogue, and you can see right away, you can see the dramatic difference between the italic and the slanted. You can see how this O, the stroke weight pretty much remains the same throughout the whole letter. Same with the G. On the A here, you can see that these two stroke weights look pretty much the same, unlike the slanted one where they're dramatically different. Same with the Y. These strokes look pretty much the same. The S, you can see that the weight stays the same throughout the whole letter. Whereas, like I said, on the slanted S, I mean, it looks really ugly. I was able to smooth out these curves, whereas here, look how they look really sharp and angular there, and just it looks really, really ugly, that slanted S compared to an italic S. That's why it's so important to use a font that's using a real italic for the italic font style and not just a slanted font or just simply buying a font with no italics and just slanting it yourself in Illustrator. And also another feature of a lot of italic fonts is that the characters, especially in the lowercase, are going to be slightly different than the regular. So you can see here in Intervogue, instead of the inside of the A just being a circle, you can see how it attaches to the vertical stem here a little bit differently. And you can see that the terminal on the bottom of the G here is a lot shorter, just to make it look slightly different than the regular style. Just to separate it, you know, if you're doing a design and you want the italics to just look a little bit more different than just a slanted. This is another font that I designed. This font's called Uniform. And here you got the same thing. You got the regular, you got the italic, and then you got the slanted. And you can see on the slanted, you know, the stroke weight varies differently. This is way thicker than over here on the left side. But on the italic version, I was able to smooth that out. Same thing with the A. You can see that the right hand diagonal stroke here in the A looks way thicker than on the left hand side. And on the italics, I was able to smooth that out. Same with the Y. You can see And like I said, the S especially, a slanted S looks way worse than a good italic S. So big dramatic difference there. There's a 2-story A in the regular version, but I made it a single-story A in the italic version, like a lot of fonts do. There again, just to make the font look different than here, where it's just the slanted version, it's just the same exact character. So that's uniform, and then uniform actually is a few different widths, and so this is uniform extra condensed. And even in a condensed font, you got the same problems going on, where in the slanted version, the stroke weight on here on the O, it gets really lumpy over here, and over here it looks really thin, and the O becomes kind of pointy. But here on the italic, I was able to smooth that out, so it just looks so much smoother than over here. And you can see the dramatic difference in stroke weight on the A that's smoothed out there. And same thing on the lowercase here, where I've got the regular has the 2-story A and the italic has a single-story A as opposed to just slanting it. So definitely makes a big difference. Definitely looks a lot better, as you can see. And then especially comes into play when dealing with a serif font. So this is Gilman's, a serif font I designed a few years ago. And if you slant a serif font, all the characters just look the same. However, pretty much every serif font, the italic version of it is going to look dramatically different. So you can see the uppercase pretty much looks the same. You can see this A is a lot different, but a lot of the characters are going to be very similar. But in the lowercase especially, I mean, dramatic difference between a serif italic lowercase compared to the regular. So if you're just slanting the regular version, it's going to look really ugly. It doesn't look elegant. It doesn't look like it fits. It just looks ugly and slanted and gross. So definitely don't want to do that. So that's the importance of using a font with real italics and not just using a font where there are no italics, or you just have to just slant it and make your own italics. Definitely always buy a font with real italics. And if you want to use any of these fonts that I showed you here in this video, there'll be a link in the description so you can purchase any of these fonts that I've shown here. And thanks for watching this video, and subscribe for more videos. I should be launching 1 or 2 videos every week moving forwards now. So bye.